recommended batteries. Get yourself a Sony, but always check the label in case you get a phony. Resistance and voltage, what are you running? Thermal runaways gonna come gunning. Woo. Not a bad one. Hello there, my name's Scott, and today's video isn't wraps about batteries, but it is about battery wraps. Hopefully you can see what I've done there. And when I say battery wraps, I'm obviously referring to the skins which cover up the battery. Now, I'm sure there's going to be a few people out there who just assume that the battery wraps are there for cosmetic reasons, add a bit of colour, add a bit of branding, etc. But they do serve a very specific function. And if you put a naked battery into a mod, you know, bad things will happen. It'll probably start auto firing. You're going to get lots of sparks and short circuits, and it could quite easily lead to the battery actually exploding as well. Now that's with a completely naked battery, but even just a little tiny tear in that battery wrap could be enough to have exactly the same thing happen. So it's very, very important to always check the skin or the wrap of your battery. If you notice any little defects, any little tears, anything like that at all, either bin it and get a new battery, or do what I'm doing here and give it a nice re-wrap. It's always far better to be safe than sorry. Now, if you look on YouTube, there's lots of videos already covering this, you know, over the last few years. So this is nothing new to probably most of the people watching this. But I thought I'm in the process of doing my own batteries anyway. If I upload a video about it, if it helps one person out and prevents one accident, then it's all going to be worth it. So in the close-up shots, I'm just going to show you what you're going to need in terms of the wraps and the equipment that you require. And show you the process, and hopefully also it'll give you a good idea of how easy and quick it can be done as well. Okay, so let's crack on and show you how I re-wrap my batteries. Right, so let's first of all talk about what you're going to need in order to re-wrap your batteries. And obviously number one on that list is going to be the actual wraps themselves. Now, I googled 18650 battery wraps, clicked on the first Amazon link that I could find, and that led me to these ones. I think I paid £12 if my memory serves me correctly, and for that you're getting 280 of the wraps. They're already cut to length. You may need to trim them up a little bit though, depending on what battery you're going to be re-wrapping. And I like the fact that you're getting a lot of them, and also lots of different colours. You can have a different colour for different brands of batteries. Now, like I said, I paid about £12 off Amazon. If you do a bit of Googling, you're probably going to find them cheaper elsewhere. And you can also find ones which have lots of different designs and patterns on them as well. Next on the list would be a pair of scissors, because like I mentioned previously, there may be occasions where you need to trim the overall length of the wrap in order to match the length of your battery. In addition to the scissors, it's also a good idea to have a box cutter or knife, and this is going to help with removing the original wrap from the battery. Now, the battery wraps are basically heat shrink, so as you apply heat to the battery wrap, it will then shrink and form itself around the battery. Now, I have seen people using things like a lighter and a chef's blowtorch, but personally, flames around batteries is not my cup of tea, and I prefer to use something like my wife's hairdryer. And then finally, of course, you're going to need your battery that you want to re-wrap. You can see here this lower one is in need of a repair, whereas the top one here is one that I made earlier. You can hopefully see the difference there. The top one looks like it's almost brand new. Okay, so let's crack on then and start off first of all then by removing the old wrapper. Right, so as you can probably tell, this battery is in dire need of a re-wrap. It's got quite a big gouge shaken out of it there. I'm really not too sure how exactly that has happened. And I've also got a little bit of peeling away on the top edge here as well. So what I'm going to do is grab hold of my box cutter, then starting on the base, just take a nick out of it and then start to peel it back, and it will come off quite easily. Now, I say start off on this end because if you start on this end, there's a very good chance that the blade is going to make contact with both the positive and the negative, which is then going to lead to a big short. You're going to get sparks and things could go downhill quite rapidly. So use your common sense and start on the base section here. And there you go. And a very important thing is to keep hold of this little black washer, which is going to sit on the top there. Do not lose that. Very, very important. And once you've got the battery wrap removed, you can tell what battery you've actually got there. So I've got a Sony VTC4. Now, when I put on the new battery wrap, I try and do it so it's going to basically replace the original one with regards to the amount it's going to cover. So as you can see there, the green is probably covering the outside edge by about 2.5–3 millimeters, and then on the base again around sort of 2–2.5 millimeters. So that's what I'm going to try to achieve with the new battery wrap as well. Now, these wraps do come up a little bit long, so I find I need to trim it off by around sort of 2.5 millimeters. Just trim it off with a pair of scissors, and that seems to be pretty much spot on. I'll just try and demonstrate it for you now. If I can open this up. I'll just drop the battery in there. You see, if I have it so it's pretty much spot on this end, which is going to be about there, then at the bottom end here I have way too much, so it's just going to basically cover up the whole base there. So I need to trim off probably around sort of 3 millimeters off the base. So now it's been trimmed to length. Hopefully you can see that at the top I'm getting a good amount of coverage. If I just fold it over, and then on the base again I'm getting a good amount of coverage, which should hopefully match the original wrap that was on the battery. Now, before I apply heat to the wrap to shrink it around the battery, very, very important, don't forget that little black washer, so grab hold of that and place it over the top. Right, so now the wrap has been cut to length and you've got the black disc in position. Again, very important, don't forget that. Next step is to apply heat and allow the wrap to shrink itself around the battery. Now, if you're going to use a hairdryer like myself, this top section can be a bit of a pain because as you apply air, that black disc will go flying off into space. So try and pinch these sides over just to try and hold it in place there until it starts to shrink. Once it does start to shrink, you can let go and carry on as normal. Okay, let's apply some heat and shrink that wrap. And there you go, you've got a brand new wrap on there, which should hopefully match up quite closely to the original. Okay, so that is how I rewrap my batteries, and it's not just limited to 18650s. You can do any battery as long as you have the appropriate sized heat shrink. So go out and double check your batteries, make sure you don't have any little nicks or tears in the wrap. If you do, get it covered up. Even if you haven't got any of the actual proper battery wraps, a little bit of insulation tape will do the job just as good, but ideally, you know, just get the old wrapper off there and whack a new one on. It is very quick and very simple to do. Okay, thank you very, very much for watching. Have a fantastic week, and also come along and visit the website at e-cig-reviews.com. That's e-cig-reviews.com. Cheers guys, happy vaping, see you later. So, not rocket science here, just get your hairdryer, turn it on and point it at the battery. Don't say you can't. One for the outtakes.